Hello. In this presentation, we will discuss how composite scores are calculated for advanced academic programming at our middle school level and for our entrance criteria high schools. By the end of this session, you will understand how composite scores are calculated, as well as be able to identify the various components that go into calculating a composite score. For our middle school choice process, this is the process in which we have our fifth graders select their middle school for sixth grade. This process is open to all of our fifth graders, but those fifth graders that do not have a zone middle school receive priority in this process. This is also the process by which students can apply for advanced academic programming, which we will discuss later in this presentation. For our high school choice process, this is the process by which we assign our eighth graders to high school. It is important that all of our eighth graders participate in the high school choice process, as there are no zone high schools in Baltimore. This is also the process by which students can apply for entrance criteria high schools. When families and students are making their school selections for the choice process, these are some of the factors that go into considering your choice selections. The first and foremost important factor that we want families to take into consideration is the academic and career programming offered at our various choice sites. The extracurricular activities, as well as the location, among other factors we want families to consider as well in making their school selection. Our schools offer a variety of programs, everything from advanced academics and the Ingenuity Project at the middle school level to dual enrollment opportunities, JROTC, and our career and technical education programs offered at the high school level. As stated earlier, for this presentation, we will focus on the advanced academic programming at the middle school level, as well as the entrance criteria high school programming at our high school level. When we're talking about our entrance criteria schools, these are our schools that have grade and assessment score requirements in order to attend. Our entrance criteria high schools are Baltimore Polytechnic Institute, also known as Poly, Baltimore City College, also known as City, Paul Laurence Dunbar, and Western High School. At the middle school level, those schools with advanced academic programming are Waverly, Roland Park, Cross Country, Mount Royal, and Francis Scott Key. As stated earlier, you need a certain composite score in order to attend those schools. The composite score typically requires is calculated using grade information, your test scores, as well as the attendance information. Now comes the question of how are those composite scores calculated? For our middle school advanced academic programming, we look at the general average, your attendance rate, your math test scores, and your reading test scores from fourth grade. At the high school level, we look at your English average, your math average, as well as your general average, in addition to your math and reading test scores. We are also aware of that with the COVID-19 pandemic, This has had a disproportionate impact on our students as it relates to assessments and attendance between virtual learning and navigating this COVID-19 pandemic. So given those disparities, we have decided as a district not to include attendance and our standardized test scores as part of the calculation for this cohort of students. With that being said, grades will weigh more than they typically do in the composite score calculation. As stated earlier, grade averages are part of the calculation of the composite score. When we talk about the grade averages, we are talking about last year's final grades as well as this year's first quarter grades. And the last year's final grades hold more weight than the first quarter grades of the current year. For example, this particular student received a 75 in 7th grade for their math final grade, but an 85 in their 8th grade first quarter grade. It would be calculated as their math grade average as 77. Because again, we take the previous year grades and the first quarter current grade in calculating the average. When we're talking about a general average, we look at all the core subjects: English, math, science, and social studies. If a student did not take science and social studies in the first quarter of the current year, it is not counted against them when the general average is calculated. It's important to note to families that having your students taking honors courses will give them a 10% towards their calculation of their grade averages. For example, if a student receives an 80 in their 7th grade math honors course, the composite score will calculate that as an 88. You can find out what your child's composite score is by talking to your child's choice liaison or visiting campus portal. As stated earlier, if you are interested in these entrance criteria schools or advanced academic programming, you want to pay close attention to your child's performance, particularly in the 4th grade. But it's never too early to start thinking about your child's participation in the choice process. But 4th grade weighs heavily in the calculation for advanced academic programming. Additionally, for high school entrance criteria, 7th grade weighs heavily in the calculation for attending those entrance criteria high schools. Lastly, we want to make you aware of a few dates as we navigate through this year's choice process. On December 4th, we will launch a virtual choice fair site in which you can learn more about our city school choice options. Also, we will have high school and middle school articulation sessions where students can talk to school leaders at the various choice sites and learn more about the schools that we offer here in Baltimore City. Your choice applications will be due January 22nd, and in March, you will find out which placement your child has received through the process, and also have an opportunity to participate in round 2 of the process if necessary. For comments and questions, please contact Dominic Bivens or Brandon Tillman in the Office of Enrollment, Choice, and Transfer at Baltimore City Public Schools. Thank you.